Stop what you're doing, because if you hold a blue badge and you park your car after 15th May, you could face an on-the-spot fine without even realizing you've done anything wrong. New parking regulations are coming into force, and they're changing the rules that millions of disabled drivers have relied on for years. We're talking about changes to where you can park, for how long, and under what conditions your blue badge actually protects you. And the details are not being widely advertised. Councils across the country are updating enforcement zones, clamping down on exemptions that previously went unchallenged, and introducing new digital monitoring systems that can flag your vehicle instantly, even if you've displayed your badge correctly. So what exactly is changing? Which locations are most affected, and what do you need to do right now to make sure your badge still works in your favor and not against you? In this video, we break it all down in plain English. No legal jargon, no confusion. Whether you're a blue badge holder yourself, a carer, or a family member, this is information you genuinely cannot afford to miss. If you or someone you know holds a blue badge, hit that like button right now. It takes 1 second and helps us get this critical update in front of every driver who needs to see it before the 15th. Now, before we go any further, I want you to understand something. The changes we're about to walk through aren't rumors. They aren't scaremongering. These are real confirmed updates to how blue badge parking is being enforced across the country. And they're already catching people out. So settle in, because the next few minutes could genuinely save you from a fine, a clamped car, or worse, having your badge reviewed or revoked. Let's start from the beginning, because I think it's important that we all understand what the blue badge scheme was originally designed to do, and why these new rules represent such a significant shift from that original intention. The blue badge scheme has been one of the most important pieces of disability legislation in this country for decades. It was introduced to give disabled people, those with physical impairments, hidden conditions, cognitive difficulties, and more, the freedom and independence to travel by car without the constant battle of finding accessible parking. For millions of people, that little blue badge in the windscreen isn't just a parking permit, it's a lifeline. It's the difference between being able to do the school run, get to a hospital appointment, pop to the shops, or visit a friend, and being completely housebound. For years, the scheme operated on a relatively straightforward set of rules. You displayed your badge, noted your time of arrival on the clock disc where required, and you were entitled to certain parking privileges. Free parking in pay and display bays, parking on yellow lines under specific conditions, and extended stay periods in many public car parks. The system wasn't perfect, but it worked. People understood it. Councils enforced it with a degree of common sense and discretion. But now, things are changing. And the speed at which those changes are being rolled out has caught an enormous number of badge holders completely off guard. Let me be very clear about this, because there's a lot of confusion circulating online right now, and I want to cut through it with you. The new rules, which come into full effect from the 15th of May, don't abolish the blue badge scheme. Your badge is still valid, it still carries legal weight, but the conditions under which it protects you are being tightened in ways that genuinely matter. The first and arguably most significant change is around digital enforcement. Many local councils have now installed or are in the process of installing automatic number plate recognition cameras, ANPR, in their controlled parking zones. These cameras don't need a traffic warden walking past your car. They don't need anyone to come and physically check your badge. They scan your registration plate automatically, cross-reference it with a database, check the time, the location, and whether your badge details match the registered vehicle. And if anything doesn't line up, a penalty notice can be issued without a single human being ever setting eyes on your car. Now, here's where this becomes particularly important for blue badge holders. The database these systems use is only as accurate as the information that's been submitted to it. If your badge was renewed recently and the council's records haven't been updated, if you've changed vehicles and haven't notified the relevant authority, or if there's even a minor discrepancy in the information on file, that system will flag your vehicle, and by the time you come back to your car, the process of issuing a fine may already be underway. The second major change is around time limits in specific zones. For years, many blue badge holders enjoyed what was effectively unlimited parking time in certain on-street bays, particularly in town centers. That is being revised in a significant number of local authority areas. Under the new guidance, councils now have greater flexibility to apply time-restricted parking rules to blue badge holders in specific zones. particularly in high footfall areas, transport hubs, and regeneration zones. What this means practically is that a bay where you could previously stay all day might now carry a 3-hour limit, even for disabled badge holders. And if you're not aware of that change, you won't be looking for the sign that tells you about it. The third change, and this one is causing a huge amount of concern among disability rights campaigners, is around enforcement of the clock disc rule. The clock disc, the circular timer that badge holders are required to display in many on-street situations, has historically been enforced with a fairly light touch. Wardens used common sense, a few minutes over, usually fine, but with digital enforcement systems now logging the precise time a vehicle arrives in a zone, that discretion is disappearing. The clock disc must now be set and displayed accurately in every situation where it's legally required, because the margin of error that previously protected people is essentially gone. Beyond these headline changes, there are a number of conditions around blue badge use that many holders simply aren't aware of, and that are now being more strictly enforced than ever before. One of the most misunderstood aspects of the scheme is the rule around who must be present when the badge is used. Your blue badge is issued to you as an individual, not to your car and not to your household. It can only be used when you, the badge holder, are either the driver or a passenger in the vehicle. The badge cannot be lent to a family member, so they can park closer to the shops while you stay at home. It cannot be left with a carer who is running errands without you, and it absolutely cannot be used by anyone else without your physical presence in the vehicle. This rule has always existed, but enforcement of it was inconsistent. Going forward, councils have been given clearer guidance on how to identify and penalize misuse, and the consequences are serious. We're not just talking about a parking fine. Misuse of a blue badge is a criminal offense under the Road Traffic Regulation Act, and prosecutions have been increasing year on year. Another condition that catches people out is the rule around loading and unloading on yellow lines. Blue badge holders are permitted to park on single and double yellow lines for up to 3 hours in most circumstances, provided there are no curb marks indicating a loading restriction. But the key word there is parking, meaning you must be in or very near the vehicle. If you park on a yellow line, display your badge, and then go off for a 2-hour lunch, that is not covered by the scheme. The exemption is designed to facilitate access, to let you stop somewhere briefly to get in or out, to load a wheelchair, to collect a prescription. It is not a blanket permission to leave your car on yellow lines indefinitely. Again, enforcement of this distinction is being tightened significantly. That's a question a lot of people are asking, and it's a fair one. The honest answer is that blue badge fraud and misuse has been a growing problem for years. The most recent government figures suggest that hundreds of thousands of fraudulent or misused badges are in circulation at any one time. Some stolen, some belonging to people who have since passed away, some being deliberately shared or lent. Local councils, already stretched for resources, are losing significant revenue because of illegal parking that exploits blue badge exemptions. And disabled people themselves are losing out because fraudulent badge use reduces the availability of genuine accessible parking spaces. So the crackdown, in many ways, is designed to protect the integrity of the scheme, to make sure that the people it was built for can actually benefit from it. That's a worthy goal. But the risk, and campaigners are vocal about this, is that overzealous enforcement ends up penalizing legitimate badge holders who simply weren't aware of a rule change, or who made an innocent mistake with their clock disc, or whose council's database hasn't been updated properly. That is why being informed right now, today, before the 15th, is so important. Let's talk about practical steps, because information without action isn't much use to anyone. The first thing you should do is check the expiry date on your blue badge. This sounds obvious, but you'd be amazed how many people are driving around with a badge that expired months ago. If your badge expired recently and you're in the process of renewing, that expired badge offers you no legal protection whatsoever. The renewal process can take several weeks, so if you haven't already started it, do it today. You can apply through your local council's website or through the GOV UK Blue Badge application portal. The second thing to do is make sure the details on your badge are accurate and up to date. If you've changed your vehicle since the badge was issued, you need to inform your local authority. Your registration plate needs to match what the council has on record, because with ANPR enforcement, a mismatch will cause you problems regardless of whether your badge is valid. Third, and this is particularly important if you live in or regularly travel to an urban area, familiarize yourself with the specific parking rules in the areas you use most frequently. Local council websites are not always the most user-friendly, but they do publish their parking policies and controlled parking zone maps. If there are changes to time limits in your area from the 15th, those changes will be published there. Don't rely on the signage at the bay to alert you. By the time you're reading a sign, it may already be too late. Fourth, get yourself a proper clock disc if you don't already have one. Many badge holders were given a paper disc when they received their badge, and it's long since been lost or damaged. You can order a replacement from your council, from disability organizations like Disabled Motoring UK, or from a number of online retailers. It should be clearly visible in your windscreen whenever you park in a situation that requires it, meaning any on-street parking bay or yellow line where a time restriction applies to badge holders. And fifth, talk to the people around you. If you're a carer, a family member, or a friend of a blue badge holder, make sure they know about these changes. Older badge holders in particular are less likely to be scrolling through council websites or watching YouTube videos about parking policy. If you can share this information with them directly, whether that's a phone call, a printed note through the door, or even just a conversation over a cup of tea, you could be saving them from a very stressful and costly experience. I want to take a moment here to acknowledge something important, because I think it gets lost in conversations about parking rules and enforcement changes. For the people who rely on the blue badge scheme, the stakes are not just financial, they are profoundly personal. When a disabled person parks in a bay close to a shop, a hospital, or a community center, they are not doing it for convenience in the way an able-bodied driver might. They are doing it because the distance between that bay and the entrance is genuinely the difference between being able to make that journey independently or not making it at all. For someone with a chronic pain condition, MS, Parkinson's, or severe anxiety, that extra 50 meters is not a minor inconvenience. It can be physically and emotionally devastating, and that's exactly why the scheme must be protected. When badges are misused by people who don't need them, real disabled people can't find spaces. When enforcement is blunt and poorly communicated, real disabled people get fined for innocent mistakes. Both outcomes are wrong, and both of them can be addressed. By cracking down properly on fraud, yes, but also by making sure that every genuine badge holder knows exactly what their rights are and exactly what the new rules require of them. If you do receive a penalty charge notice despite believing you've parked correctly, don't panic and don't just pay it automatically. You have the right to challenge it. The PCN will contain instructions on how to make a formal representation, and you can do so on the grounds that your badge was valid, that you were present in the vehicle, that the bay was not subject to a time restriction applicable to blue badge holders, or that there was a technical or administrative error in the enforcement process. Keep records. Photograph your badge, your clock disc, the bay markings, and any nearby signage whenever you park somewhere you're unsure about. Those photographs are your evidence if a dispute arises, and if your representation is rejected by the council, you have the right to appeal to the Independent Traffic Penalty Tribunal, which operates separately from the local authority and makes impartial decisions. The system is not infallible. Councils make mistakes. ANPR systems produce errors. Database mismatches happen. You have rights, and you should exercise them if you believe a penalty has been issued unfairly. The 15th of May is very close. The changes being introduced are real, and they will affect the daily lives of blue badge holders up and down the country. But they don't have to catch you off guard. By checking your badge, updating your records, understanding the rules in your area, and staying informed, you can navigate these changes without a fine, without stress, and without losing any of the independence and freedom that the Blue Badge scheme is there to give you. This channel exists to make sure that people who need information like this can actually find it, clearly, quickly, and without having to wade through pages of government jargon. So if this video helped you, if it answered questions you've been carrying around, or if it told you something you genuinely didn't know before, please hit that like button, leave a comment below, and consider sharing this with someone who needs to hear it, because knowledge like this doesn't just protect you. It protects everyone in your community who depends on that little blue badge to live their life. We'll see you in the next one.